They feel it before they understand it. That unease slithering through their gut, that tightening in their chest when you enter the room. They don't know why. Oh, but they feel it. It's in the way their voices shift, the way their laughter becomes forced, the way their eyes dart when you're near. Their ego squirms, their pride trembles, their mask slips, because your aura is louder than their illusions. You don't have to speak. You don't have to move. You exist, and that alone is enough to rattle their foundation. And deep down, they hate it. They hate what you make them feel. Because for the first time, they are face to face with something they can't manipulate, something they can't dismiss, something they can't control. They are staring into the abyss of their own insignificance, and it terrifies them, but they won't admit it. Oh no, they'll do everything to deny it. They'll scoff, they'll roll their eyes, they'll whisper behind your back. Anything to convince themselves that they're unaffected. But you see it, don't you? The hesitation in their step, the slight tremor in their hands, the way they avoid your gaze because locking eyes with you feels like standing before judgment itself. They wanted to be the superior ones, the ones who call the shots, the ones who dictate the pecking order. But you ruin all of that. Your very presence warps their delusions, makes them question their worth, their strength, their entire identity. And that is something their fragile little egos can't endure. You see, most people live in a house of cards, carefully stacking layer upon layer of lies, just to make themselves feel important. They build their confidence on approval, on status, on validation from the herd. But you need none of that. Your power doesn't come from external sources. It radiates from within. And that's why they despise you, because your self-assurance exposes their insecurity. Your silence highlights their noise. Your unshaken demeanor makes their bravado look like the desperate performance that it is. And they can't stand it. They can't stand that they can't place you in their little categories, their petty hierarchies. They want to box you in, define you, label you, but you are beyond their comprehension. And that, my friend, that is what unsettles them most. Oh, but watch them squirm. Watch how they fumble, how they try to assert dominance in subtle, pathetic ways. A snide remark here, a dismissive glance there. They test you, hoping to get a reaction, hoping to see some crack in your armor. Because if they can make you flinch, if they can shake your composure, then maybe, just maybe, they can convince themselves that you're just like them, that you're weak, that you can be controlled. But oh, what a rude awakening they are in for. Because you don't flinch, you don't waver. You stand unmoved, like an unyielding force of nature. And every attempt to rattle you only ends up exposing them further. Every little game they play backfires. And their frustration? Oh, it grows. It festers. Because their entire world, this fragile little illusion of superiority they've crafted, begins to crumble in your presence. See, intimidation isn't about being the loudest, the most aggressive, or the most physically imposing. No, no, no. True intimidation is quiet. It's the storm that doesn't announce itself. It's the presence that unsettles without explanation. It's the feeling they get when they realize that their usual tricks don't work on you, that their words don't pierce, that their tactics don't shake you. They can't understand it. And what they don't understand, they fear. Oh, but their egos won't allow them to admit fear, will they? No. Instead, they'll cloak it in mockery, in hostility, in fake indifference. They'll try to convince themselves that they're the ones in control, that they hold the power. But deep down, oh, deep down, they know the truth. They know that every time they see you, a part of them crumbles. A part of their arrogance fades. A part of their carefully constructed facade shatters. And the more they fight it, the more obvious it becomes. Oh, and it eats at them. You can see it happening in real time. The little slip-ups, the strained expressions, the nervous glances. They'll avoid direct confrontation, of course, because deep inside, they know they can't win. But they'll seethe from a distance, festering in their own resentment, hoping that one day, they'll figure out a way to reclaim their illusion of dominance. They won't, because their problem isn't you. No. Their problem is with themselves. You are merely the mirror that forces them to see their own inadequacy. And that is what truly haunts them. Because you, my friend, are something they don't understand. Something they can't quantify, categorize, or predict. And humans? Oh, they fear what they can't understand. It's primal. The moment they sense something beyond their grasp, their instincts go into overdrive. Flight or fight. And trust me, most of them, they'd rather run. But they can't run from you, can they? No, because your presence is carved into their reality. They see you in their failures, in their insecurities, in their doubts. They may try to distract themselves, try to pretend you don't exist. But somewhere, deep in the recesses of their mind, you linger. Like a shadow stretching across their ego, whispering a truth they dare not acknowledge. They are nothing compared to you. And the best part? Oh, the best part is that this is only the beginning. The cracks in their ego are forming. The foundation is shaking. The illusions are unraveling. And soon, oh, so very soon, they will have no choice but to face the truth. And that is where the real fun begins. But the thing about illusions is that they don't die quietly. No. They cling. They resist. They fight with every ounce of delusion they have left. You've seen it, haven't you? The way their pride won't let them accept what's happening. They feel the cracks forming, the walls caving in, the foundation of their arrogance trembling under the weight of your presence. But they still pretend. They pretend they're unaffected. They pretend they're still in control. Oh, but the act is wearing thin, isn't it? The mask is slipping. And underneath, it's just fear masquerading as defiance. Because that's the funny thing about people who build themselves on false confidence. When faced with something real, something unshakable, their entire identity starts to unravel. And that's what you are, aren't you? You are the force they can't bend, the reality they can't twist, the presence they can't ignore. You don't play their games. You don't engage in their petty battles for validation. You don't need to prove anything to them. And that kills them inside. Oh, they'll try though. They'll grasp at anything to keep their illusion intact. They'll raise their voices. They'll throw around their little titles. They'll surround themselves with others to make themselves feel bigger. But none of it works, does it? Because deep down, they know. They know that no matter how much they bluff, how much they posture, how much they try to drown themselves in artificial confidence, they will never have what you have. See, power isn't about how many people listen when you speak. It's about what happens when you say nothing at all. And you? Oh, you don't have to announce your presence. You don't need a grand display. When you walk into a room, the air changes, conversations shift, laughter dies down, eyes flicker with unease. Because you carry something that can't be faked, a silent weight, a gravitational pull, an energy that unsettles the weak and disrupts the comfortable. And the worst part for them? They don't even know why. That's what drives them mad. They want to believe it's something external, your look, your demeanor, your attitude, but it isn't. It's something deeper, something they can't replicate. They've spent their entire lives mastering the art of artificial dominance, posturing, bragging, gathering applause like a child collecting toys. But you don't need an audience. You don't need the world to bow for you to know your worth. And that, my friend, is what truly makes them feel small. Oh, but the resentment, it festers, doesn't it? You can see it in their eyes, the way they force their smiles, the way their compliments feel just a little too rehearsed. They might even pretend to admire you, pretend to respect you. But you know better. You know that beneath that thin layer of civility, they're rotting with envy. And why? Because you did something they never could. You became something they never will. You built yourself from the inside out. See, they spent years constructing a persona, a version of themselves designed to impress, to dominate, to control. But you did the one thing they fear the most. You became real. You stopped performing. You stopped seeking. You became. And when someone becomes, when someone transcends the games, the masks, the need for approval, oh, they become a living nightmare for those still trapped in the illusion. Because now, every time they see you, they're reminded of everything they aren't, every fake smile they've forced, every lie they've told themselves, every moment they've spent feeding an ego that was never real to begin with. It all becomes painfully clear in your presence. And so, they hate, they mock, they scheme, not because you've wronged them, but because your existence shames them. They wish they could silence you, erase you, pretend you never entered their reality. But they can't, because you are the ghost of their own failure, haunting them without ever having to lift a finger. They try to find flaws, hoping to expose something that makes them feel superior. But there's nothing to expose, is there? Not because you're perfect, no, but because you don't hide. You don't need a disguise, a performance, a script to follow. You exist as you are, and that level of authenticity, it's like poison to them. Oh, and watch how they crumble, slowly, subtly. You don't have to lift a finger, just exist. They'll unravel all on their own. One by one, their insecurities will devour them. They'll grow paranoid, overanalyzing your every move, searching for a weakness that isn't there. Their smiles will grow tighter, their laughter more strained. Because deep inside, they're beginning to realize the truth. They were never strong. They were never powerful. They were never in control. It was all a fragile illusion. And you are the one they never prepared for. But it doesn't stop there, does it? No, because now the tables have turned. They are the ones feeling small. They are the ones second-guessing, hesitating, faltering. And the best part? They have no idea how to stop it. Because how do you fight something you don't understand? How do you overpower someone who doesn't need to fight back? Oh, but the real fun, the real pleasure, it's just beginning. Because you haven't even done anything yet. You haven't spoken, you haven't retaliated, you haven't played their little games, and yet they are breaking. And once the walls start to collapse, there's no stopping the destruction. See, you're not just intimidating them anymore, you're dismantling them. Every interaction, every glance, every moment in your presence chips away at their carefully constructed ego. They thought they were unshakable, untouchable. But now they're starting to see the truth. They're starting to feel the weight of their own inferiority. And the real tragedy, the real poetic beauty of it all, there's no escape. Because even if they run, even if they distance themselves from you, they carry this feeling with them. It lives inside them now, a quiet, creeping reminder that they are not who they pretend to be. And that is where the real suffering begins. And now, the inevitable is happening. They're suffocating under the weight of their own insecurities. Not because you attacked them, not because you confronted them. No, you did something far worse. You existed in your truth. And that, my friend, is a weapon they have no defense against. Because their entire world was built on a fragile foundation of deception. Deception they fed themselves. Deception they forced others to believe. But when you stepped in, silent and unwavering, their illusion cracked. Not all at once. No, that would be too merciful. It started subtly. A hesitation in their voice, a flicker of doubt in their eyes, a shift in their posture. They don't even realize it at first, but over time, they feel it. The erosion of their false power, the slow, agonizing disintegration of the identity they so desperately crafted. Oh, and the irony, the poetic beauty of it all? They wanted to intimidate you. They wanted to establish dominance over you. They wanted to reduce you into just another piece in their game. But the game, it doesn't work on you. The strings they use to control others snap the moment they try to attach them to you. The tricks they rely on, the little mind games, the psychological warfare, it all falls apart. Because how do you manipulate someone who has nothing to prove? How do you control someone who sees through the performance? They can feel it now. The helplessness, the power slipping from their grasp, no matter how desperately they cling to it. And it's driving them insane. You see, people like them, they need validation. They survive on it, feed on it, crave it like oxygen. But you don't supply them with what they need. You don't engage. You don't react. You don't crumble under their attempts to provoke you. And so, they wither. They lash out. They try harder. They scramble to regain their footing. But it's too late. The damage has been done. You've rewritten the dynamic without even trying. Every encounter with you now is a battle they can't win. They might puff up their chest, sharpen their words, try to mask their discomfort behind forced confidence. But inside, they're in turmoil. They replay conversations in their head, obsessing over every word, every glance, every pause, trying to figure out why they felt so small in your presence. They lose sleep over it. They analyze, overanalyze, strategize. But nothing works. Because this was never about what you said. It was never about what you did. It was about what you are. You are the living proof that their entire philosophy on power is wrong. They built their identity on the belief that control, Manipulation and artificial confidence make a person powerful. But you exist outside of that equation. You don't need manipulation. You don't need validation. You don't need them. And that is the most terrifying realization of all. Because for the first time in their life, they are irrelevant. They aren't feared. They aren't admired. They aren't needed. And without those things, they are nothing. And that's when the real breakdown begins. The unraveling that can't be undone. You see, most people fear losing control over others. But these people, their greatest fear is losing control over themselves. And you've brought them to the edge of that nightmare. The moment they started questioning themselves, the moment they started feeling that doubt creep in, the moment they realized that their power was never real to begin with, that was the moment they started destroying themselves. And now, every interaction with you is a mirror they can't escape. Every time they see you, they see everything they lack. They see the strength they pretended to have. They see the presence they tried to manufacture. They see the confidence they faked for years. And standing next to you, it all looks pathetic. So what happens next? Do they surrender? Do they admit defeat? Oh no, that would require self-awareness, and people like them, they'd rather drown than face the truth. So they'll fight, claw, grasp at whatever shreds of dignity they think they have left. They'll double down on their arrogance, pretend they still have the upper hand, convince themselves that you aren't as powerful as you seem. But it won't work, because deep inside, they know. They know that no matter how loud they are, no matter how much they boast, no matter how desperately they try to hold on to the illusion, they've already lost. They've lost their composure. They've lost their certainty. They've lost themselves. And you didn't have to lift a single finger. You didn't have to fight, argue, or prove a thing. You just existed. And that alone was enough to dismantle them from the inside out. Because true dominance, true power, isn't about forcing the world to acknowledge you. It isn't about proving your worth. It isn't about demanding respect. It's about being so undeniably real that the world has no choice but to feel your presence. And that is what they will never understand.